Is Greece a strong country economically, currently?
Greece has some economic potential. Greece is in a very difficult economic and fiscal situation because they really need to have to get sufficient financial assistance to be in a position to pay back the loans they have to pay back very urgently. So this has been the heart of the matter of the crisis in 2011. And the heart of the matter was, is it possible for Europe, for the EU, of the 27 EU member states, to take a solution to give support to Greece? And in fact, when I say a solution coming from the 27 EU member states, you have also to understand that in Europe there is a smaller group, the Eurozone, which is made of 17 member states. So it is really for the 17 countries to find solutions, not only to save Greece, but also to save the euro, because it has been called a euro crisis, and the possibility, of course, for Greece to abandon the Eurozone, which has been mentioned in the press very regularly, which I believe that it is something which will not happen, because the cost of doing that would be very, very high. And also some measures have been taken already. There has been a first agreement and even a second agreement last year to save Greece, and I've just also heard that they should find again a solution for Greece to respond to its financial obligations for the next month. So decisions are taken. As I mentioned briefly, you see, it's always very difficult to take a decision between 17 members countries of the Eurozone or between 27 countries in Europe, because it has a lot of implications. It has a lot of domestic implications, and so it takes time. And it's true that in this economic crisis, it is not always possible to take the time because there is a pressure of the market. This pressure of the market at the end is good because Europe has taken a very positive decision to take the good replies.
All right, interesting. So we'll come and deal with Ghana at some point because of what you've introduced. But of course, as we agreed during the break, there was a point you wanted to make about the political implications, and I would be interested in hearing that.
Yes. In fact, it ties in with the last point that he's made. Ambassador has made. The point is that it takes time for 17 countries to take a decision, on the wide gamut of issues, right, that they are confronted with. But the markets are impatient, and they want to have solutions here and now. And that has to do with the institutional arrangement for the establishment of the Eurozone, okay, as a common monetary a common monetary area or monetary union. The first point is this, that it's a currency union, or it is a currency union and monetary union. It is not a political union. And what should have been achieved first is a fiscal union and a political union. That was kind of sidestepped. It's a case of like putting the cart before the horse. You can't have effectively a monetary union when you do not have a fiscal and political union. Fiscal policy is the exclusive prerogative of all sovereign governments, and therefore the Greek government, in spite of its failure to meet the convergence criteria, still have the capacity to spend, and also implement other fiscal arrangements.
So what are you calling a political union?
For example,
a political union.
In Greece, the retirement age was it 56? Okay. And at the end of every year, they used to take 10%, bonus of all salaries. They work less hours than most European countries, and that has implications for their budget and the fiscal stance. Okay. And these arrangements should have sorted out before the monetary union, and therefore, for Greece to abandon these kind of practices, bogus practices, there must be a kind of a political institution to bring that about, which institution does not exist.
In what form? Okay. That's what I'm trying to get you to say.
In the form
how should a political union work in the EU, to your mind?
In the form that, the EU is not like the United States of America.
Right.
Okay.
It's not.
It's not. So it's still a number of sovereign states which are whose behavior is being shaped, by a certain number of rules. So instead of discretionary powers in the hands of sovereign governments, all governments have been kind of hemmed in within a certain structure or arrangement of rules to conduct their fiscal, monetary, and foreign exchange policies. But without that kind of fiscal union, political union, you cannot.
I'm just trying to understand the political union you're speaking about. As you say, it's not like the United States. Are you suggesting by political union that the EU, for example, should be like the United States, where the states are just states within the state, and that there's some form of, that's, I need to understand that the EU can have a common president or a common prime minister, or what is it exactly are you calling a political union?
Yes, political union is that there's only one sovereign state.
Okay.
Okay, so that tax policies could be harmonized within the region. If we take the EU countries as different regions, okay, then when the economic prospects of one region increases, okay, one region is doing better and another region or some regions are not doing well, then they could, through tax policies, transfer resources from the rich areas to the poor areas or those areas which are not doing well. This is not easy to do under the EU arrangement. That's why it's been extremely difficult for Germany to transfer resources easily to Greece and other areas, which have the crisis, to solve their problem, because there are domestic constituencies they have to deal with. In fact, in the first place, the EU arrangement, the Eurozone arrangement, was not an economic arrangement. Indeed, it was a political arrangement, an arrangement that was conducted through political institutions, democratic political institutions, using European Parliament, which were all democracies, and therefore had commonality of procedures and processes. And through these processes, they use more or less authoritarian or non-democratic, arrangement to implement market-oriented policies. And at the bottom, at the bottom of the problem is the fact that these arrangements, which were kind of forced on the people, can no longer be used to solve the economic problems that have now, reared their heads.
I'm on Europa, the Gateway to the European Union. It's a website which says that it was an economic and political partnership between these countries. Let me find out from you, Ambassador, was there ever the aim to have a political union, which is with one sovereign, one president? You all go and vote for a leader, as the United States of America does, and all that. And of course, the tax example that Doc cites, even in the US, state tax is different. In California, it's high. If you buy a car or so, it's 8.5% of the price. And in some other states like Virginia, etc., you're in the 4-point-something region. So even in that kind of union, it's not easy to harmonize all of these things. But maybe EU is smaller than US will be with its 50 states or so and all of that. Was that ever the aim, that the political union would mean one country, so to speak?
No, the aim is to have a union of different sovereign states. That is the creation of Europe, starting from 1957, and we are still there. Of course, we don't know what will be the future, but today it is a union of sovereign states which has a lot of common policies. For instance, in agriculture, in trade, in competition. We have also common policies in very different subjects. We have a common foreign and security policy, which is a new policy which has been reinforced under the recent Lisbon Treaty and which has been put in place since the end of 2009. So Europe is a very important economic actor in the world. It is the first trade power in the world, and also it is becoming more and more very important foreign partner. For instance, very often it is for Cathy Ashton, the High Representative and Vice President of the Commission, to express the view of the EU on foreign policy issues. These are very important achievements of Europe. what we have to do, and we have to do still a lot of convergence on many issues, but on economic and financial issues, what will be very important in the future, and this is the aim of this new treaty, which will be established among 20. We don't know exactly how many countries, but probably between 26 EU countries.
How do you say 26? Who is dropping out?
There has been a decision at the last EU summit in Brussels in December that UK will not support this new treaty because they could not obtain some of their main concern address with this summit. So at this stage it will be between 26 countries. We will see if there is a possibility for UK to join later. But it is very important that between at least it would have been better to do it at 27. But what is good to see is that there is this possibility for Europe to innovate and to invent a new model of integration. When you are faced to a crisis, you need to take a very quick and important decision, and it has been taken. This very important, quick decision. So we will see the result very soon.
So you don't seem to agree with Doc about the political union bit.
The fiscal union.
You see, when there is the summit between the EU leaders, it is about political discussion. You need to have the support of your citizens when there is a proposal coming from the Commission to be adopted by 27 countries, and so this is all these are political decisions because we are based on the rule of law and democratic principles, and so we need to have the support of our citizens.
Interesting. So, Doc, I think we should be coming home at this stage because more than half of the time is spent.
Okay.
And I'll begin with you. What are the implications on Ghana in terms of the crisis? I'll come and ask you about the figure, the 52 million euros, whether it's coming. I asked you earlier, but of course we have to push it. What are the implications for Ghana?
Well, as ever before, when, as in the 1980s, when there was economic decline, or there was a decline in the economies of European countries, it did have some effects on the economies of developing countries, such as Ghana's. In the first place, one of the dimensions of the crisis is that unemployment is increasing at a very alarming rate. The unemployment of the UK reported this week has hit, over 18%, about 18.5%, one of the highest since 1995. Okay, we know that Germany's exports, have become a bit sluggish. So with this kind of recession in Europe, what it means is that their demand for our exports will go down. Okay, so European countries will not be able to export more because of the dampening of the economy. They will not be able to import more, we will not be able to export more, so we will lose foreign exchange. We will also lose tax revenues from exports. Okay, so the government export revenues might fall. Okay, then even with imports, if as a result of the crisis, European countries adopt some protectionism, then what it means is that import prices may increase, okay, and our import bill may increase, leading to worsening of balance of payments. If we respond to this crisis or shocks by reducing our imports, what means that the overall growth of the economy or dynamics of aggregate of demand will fall, our revenues from imports will fall, and our growth prospects may not be as good as they would otherwise have been without the European crisis. So these are some of the transmission mechanism or the channels through which the crisis in Europe could feed into our economy.
Interesting.